Ladies and gentlemen, I want to remind you today that no time in God's plan is ever wasted. Though it may feel like you've lost years chasing after unfulfilled dreams, broken relationships, or missed opportunities, God has a plan of restoration. When God steps in, He can take the years you thought were gone, wasted, or fruitless and turn them into a harvest far greater than you could have ever imagined. I want to share with you 7 signs that God is about to restore your wasted years. When God begins the process of restoring your wasted years, one of the first things He does is revive your sense of purpose. You may have walked through seasons where you felt lost, unsure of where you were headed, or perhaps you even gave up on dreams that once burned brightly in your heart. The trials of life, the disappointments, and the delays may have caused you to lose sight of the very reason you were created. But when God steps in, He begins to stir something deep within you, a reminder of the purpose that He placed inside of you long ago. Suddenly, you begin to feel a sense of clarity and direction again. The passions that had faded away start to come alive, and what once felt like a dead end begins to look like a path with new possibilities. It's as though God is whispering to your spirit, I'm not done with you yet. The dreams you had, the goals you once pursued are not gone. They were simply waiting for the right time to be reignited. In this season, you might find yourself reflecting on past experiences and realizing that they weren't in vain. What you thought were wasted years were actually years of preparation. The lessons you learned in your darkest moments, the skills you acquired while you thought you were off track, God is now using all of it to refuel your sense of purpose. Nothing is wasted in His hands. With that renewed sense of purpose comes a fresh vision. You begin to see what's possible again, and you're filled with a determination that you thought was long gone. The energy to move forward returns, not because everything in your life is perfect, but because God has restored your inner drive. You realize that your purpose is not tied to your past failures, nor is it limited by your age, your circumstances, or the time you think you've lost. It's tied to God's eternal plan for your life. And that plan is still very much alive. This renewed purpose comes with a deep conviction that your best days are ahead of you, not behind. You start to understand that everything you've gone through has shaped you, but it doesn't define you. God's restoration is not just about giving back what you lost. It's about moving you forward into something greater. You become energized by the thought that the time you thought was wasted is actually being redeemed for a future that's even more impactful than what you originally envisioned. So as God revives your sense of purpose, you step into this new season with confidence. You are no longer held back by regret or missed opportunities. Instead, you embrace the truth that your purpose is alive and well, and with God's hand guiding you, you will fulfill everything He has destined for you. As God begins to restore your wasted years, you'll notice that opportunities start to present themselves in ways that seem almost miraculous. These aren't just random chances, but moments where you can clearly see that something beyond your control is at work. It's as if doors that were once tightly shut are now opening effortlessly, and paths you had given up on are suddenly accessible again. You may have spent years knocking on doors that refuse to budge, and now, without much effort, they swing open wide. These divine doors signify more than just new opportunities. They represent God's timing aligning with your purpose. What you struggled to achieve in the past may have felt like a series of failures or disappointments, but now, in God's perfect time, the way forward becomes clear. There's a sense that what once felt impossible is now within reach, not because circumstances changed on their own, but because God is the one who has unlocked these opportunities for you. These doors might come in the form of new relationships, career advancements, financial provision, or opportunities to grow in ways you never thought possible. What's unique about these moments is that they often come with a sense of ease. Where you once faced resistance, there is now flow. The struggles you encountered before seem to have faded, and you step into spaces you couldn't have access before, not because you tried harder, but because God made a way. It's important to recognize that these divine doors aren't just about convenience, they are purposeful. Each door that opens leads you closer to the fulfillment of the purpose God has for you. They are doors to growth, opportunities to step into new levels of influence, and chances to expand your impact. You realize that the delays and rejections of the past weren't denials. They were simply preparing you for the right moment when God's timing and your readiness would align perfectly. When these doors open, it's also a sign of acceleration. What may have taken years of effort and planning can now happen quickly, as if God is making up for lost time. You may find yourself moving forward at a pace you didn't expect, as things begin to fall into place with remarkable speed. It becomes clear that God is redeeming not only the opportunities you thought were lost, but also the time itself. Every door that opens is a step closer to the restoration of everything that seemed wasted. In these moments, you're reminded that God is always working behind the scenes, even when you can't see it. While you were waiting, He was preparing the way. Now, as the doors begin to open, you realize that the delays weren't setbacks, they were setups for something far greater. What seemed like missed opportunities in the past were simply opportunities reserved for the right moment. And now, as they open, you understand that they were always part of God's plan for your restoration. As God begins to restore your wasted years, one of the first things you notice is that the pain from your past starts to fade. The emotional and spiritual wounds that you carried for so long, wounds from broken relationships, failures, disappointments, and missed opportunities begin to heal. These are the wounds that may have defined you, shaping how you saw yourself and your future. But now, in this season of restoration, they lose their power over you. You may have spent years feeling the weight of regret or carrying bitterness from past hurts. Perhaps those wounds left you hesitant to trust, reluctant to try again, or even afraid to hope. But as God works in your life, something remarkable happens. The healing is not superficial, it goes deep, addressing the very root of the pain. It's as if God reaches into your heart and gently removes the thorns that have been lodged there for so long. This healing process doesn't always happen overnight, but you start to sense a shift. The things that used to trigger pain, resentment, or anger no longer have the same hold on you. You find yourself thinking about past hurts and realizing that they don't sting the way they used to. It's not that you've forgotten what happened or ignored the reality of the pain, but rather God is giving you a new perspective. You begin to see your past not as a source of torment, but as part of a larger story that God is rewriting. With this healing comes freedom. The emotional baggage that weighed you down is being lifted, and you begin to feel lighter. It's as if the burdens you've carried for so long are being exchanged for peace. The deep-seated resentment or regret that used to cloud your mind is replaced with a sense of calm and acceptance. You start to understand that while the wounds were real, they no longer have to define your future. As your wounds heal, you also begin to forgive both others and yourself. You let go of the anger or disappointment you may have felt toward people who hurt you or situations that didn't go as planned. You release the guilt or shame you may have carried for decisions you made or things you didn't accomplish. In this process of forgiveness, you experience a new level of grace. You realize that God's healing is not just about erasing the pain, but about teaching you to grow from it, to become stronger and more compassionate because of what you've endured. The healing of old wounds also opens the door to new possibilities. With the past no longer holding you back, you're free to dream again. You can approach life with a renewed sense of hope and optimism, knowing that your scars are a testament to your resilience, not a reminder of your failures. You recognize that the time spent nursing those wounds is no longer wasted, because God is using that healing to propel you forward into your destiny. In this season, you begin to see that God's restoration is not just about the external, the relationships, the opportunities, or the resources, but also about your inner life. He heals your heart so that you can fully embrace what's ahead without being held back by what's behind. You are no longer defined by your past pain, but by the healing power of God's love and grace. Through this healing, you are being made whole, ready to step into the restored years that God has prepared for you. When God begins to restore your wasted years, one of the most tangible signs is the arrival of unexpected resources. These are not just material blessings, but provisions in all forms: finances, opportunities, relationships, or even the strength and wisdom you didn't know you had. What once felt like scarcity where every effort seemed to yield little, now becomes a season of overflow. It's as though the heavens open and things you never anticipated start coming your way. You may have struggled in the past, working tirelessly, but seeing minimal results. Perhaps you experienced lack where resources seem to slip through your fingers no matter how hard you tried. You might have wondered how you would ever move forward feeling stuck because there wasn't enough to accomplish your goals or fulfill your dreams. But as God steps in, things begin to change. What was once difficult to come by starts to flow freely. These